I'm Cameron Nichol, I'm 31 and I'm from Glasgow. So over the next few months, we're kind of getting back into competition season. Kieran and I are obviously making a run for the Commonwealth Games at the end of next year, but there hasn't been any wrestling comps for a wee while, so we're planning to compete at the end of March, which is about 5 weeks away. So at that comp I'd like to do well. That comp isn't a qualifier, but I'd like to just get back into competing and just show people I'm there. Then follow up onto whatever other comps are. I don't know what's actually after that yet, but whatever's there, I'm going to just go for it and take it. So I'm actually quite new. I've only done 2 wrestling tournaments. My first wrestling tournament, I believe, was October 2019. And then my second was February 2020, so I'm fairly new to competing in freestyle wrestling. So I'd say professional wrestling, that kind of wrestling you described, is like entertainment, it's like acting, whereas freestyle wrestling is just a sport. It's an Olympic sport, a competitive Olympic sport, whereas professional wrestling is more like a TV show or just acting and personalities.
So, in his prime, could you have taken Hulk Hogan?
He's a big guy, but I think I would. I think I would. I started training in the grip house, training all aspects of MMA, and I kind of gravitated towards Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and wrestling's quite a useful component of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like if you get good at wrestling, it can help a lot in your Jiu-Jitsu. So I kind of was more focused on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and then got really good at wrestling on the side, and sort of then transitioned over and started competing in wrestling more recently. So like as talking about that transitioning from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to wrestling, when I did my first wrestling competition, I did really well. Like I had 4 matches, I tech falled everybody, so I had like quite a big gap on the opponents, and I took gold at my weight class. So I think going into my first wrestling competition and doing so well was like a huge achievement for me. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I've done quite well as well. I've got a few like tournaments I've done really well at. The Forza tournaments were highlights for me. Winning the Evolution of Combat 90 kilo belt was a highlight for me.
How did it feel to win gold the first time you competed?
So the first time I competed at wrestling, yeah, it felt almost like a relief to win gold. I feel like there was expectations and kind of pressure on me. I was coaching wrestling at the grip house, even though I'd never competed in wrestling. So although I'd used my wrestling in my jiu-jitsu matches and kind of shown my ability and skill and in training, I'd not competed and actually done freestyle wrestling, that sport. So it was kind of like authenticating myself, and it was just like relief. And people around me probably knew more what I was capable of than I knew until I got that gold. It's getting to just showcase all the hard work you've put in. Like getting to competing is the fun part. You spend all that time like kind of dedicating yourself, you know, being disciplined, just getting to the gym, putting in those hard sessions over and over and over again. When you finally get to compete, it's kind of like letting people know like what they didn't see, you know, that everyday grind, all those hard sessions every day. They don't see that, and you're going through that every day, pushing yourself, and then when you finally get to compete, that's like, now you all get to see what I've been working on. I can't say I've got a favourite, like a hero. I would say I have people I look up to, like I have training partners and people around me that motivate me, and I kind of feed off their energy. They're ambitions and just people that are motivated, that makes me more motivated. I kind of feed off that energy. People they don't have to be doing wrestling, the same sport, but if they're passionate about whatever it is they're doing, particularly sport, it kind of relates to me more. I just feed off that energy, but anybody that's kind of passionate about something, that's like my hero, just anybody that's super into something positive, obviously. No, I'm not in. I've never really been into rituals, so I'll kind of take on. I'll just go with it. Like if something's there, you know, don't worry, don't stress. Try not stress. "Oh, I need this thing, or I need this person," because then you kind of become reliant on it. In my head, I just feel like I should be able to rock up, whatever the circumstances have created. Just rock up, overcome that, and get through it. So I don't have rituals or things that I kind of rely on. I just rely on my training. I don't. A lot of people do use music as a pre-competing. They'll have their headphones in and they'll go into their wee zone and stuff. I just like to be around like pals or training partners or other people that are competing and just kind of just chat shit. Just like have a wee chat and just distract each other from the matches. Just talk about stuff and have a laugh. I'm not one to. This is the song I need to listen to or that. I can't say I was ever huge onto sports movies growing up.
What was your sort of movies as growing up?
So I'd say growing up, I watched movies I shouldn't have been watching. I was into like gangster movies and stuff, like Scarface, Goodfellas, things like that.
All the cool movies?
All the cool movies, yeah. So in my training, I'm confident that I'm consistent, I'm reliable, I make sessions, I'm always there. I feel like I ask good questions and I'm quite coachable. I'll try and learn, and I'm not afraid to take a step back and kind of be humble. Like I feel like I could learn from a lot of people, even people that I could maybe do better than in training. I feel like I can still learn from them. So yeah, I think that's a good aspect of my training is just just consistency, sort of discipline, showing up, and then my attitude of like trying not to be big-headed or egotistical and just kind of being humble and being coachable, and every day you can learn something new. As far as competing goes, I think I'm quite, I don't want to say reckless. I could sometimes be reckless, but I think I'll really go for it on the day. I don't really hold back. I'll really just go for it because I know that this is the moment I've kind of been training for, and like I'll just put it all out there, and I try and sort of put pressure on people and try and break people and break their will.
He says so calmly. I'm going to break your will. Okay. Right, moving on.
But no, that feeling, you know, when you're competing and you're putting pressure on somebody and you start feeling them fade, that's the kind of feeling, and you're like, right, I know now I'm on my way to winning, I'm nearly there. That's the feeling you're looking for when you start.
Is that something that kind of comes, because you said that's a feeling, is it something that when did you first experience that at an opponent, and how did you know that's what it was?
So I would say it happened in like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I would notice it sooner because I was sort of competing and doing that a bit more. And it would be when like a higher belt, you know, somebody that's you're used to constantly beating you, then you would start maybe catching up to them and you would start beating them, but you would sort of just see them fade. So when you see that, that kind of gives you confidence and encourages you to push more, and just turn it up. I find it, I don't want to say I find it easy, but I'm very comfortable with staying disciplined with my eating and my training. I'm fortunate enough to work in gyms, so there's no excuse not to be training. If I'm not wrestling, I can be lifting weights, I can be doing something. I'll always find like something to do. I'll always look for the excuse to train rather than the excuse not to train. With diet, I used to be overweight, so I had to kind of learn a bit about nutrition and a bit about diet and then when I started competing, I had to kind of watch my diet, and I find that competing a lot made me keep my diet on track. So like I'd be competing sometimes prior to COVID, I'd be competing every month. So I would need to stay at a certain weight class, and to manage your weight, you need to be on top of your nutrition. So it just goes hand in hand, and it's just become my lifestyle that I'm always on top of my weight, I'm always on top of what I'm eating. And it's just normal for me. It's maybe more difficult for other people when I'm hanging out and stuff, because I'm the weird guy that only eats certain things or whatever. I try and not let that become too anal or whatever. Try and be chill, but yeah, I'm just on top of it, and it's easy. I think I've got an addictive personality. I think I've just channeled my addictive personality towards sports or wrestling, jiu-jitsu, these combat sports I'm into. I don't know if that makes me different from most people, but that's maybe, yeah, that makes me different from most people, yeah, the fact that I've channeled it into something like that, yeah. So yeah, the pandemic's been difficult for me and everybody, and everybody that trains. It's been super difficult. At the start, I was quite sort of scared or unsure of what was going on. So like you would see stuff in the news that you had to wash your food when you brought it in from the supermarket and all that, and you were kind of worried about going out and stuff. So for the first 2 or 3 months, I was really isolating, 100%, being really careful. Training on Zoom, I was training at home. Luckily enough, because I work in gyms, I had a lot of kit at home, so I could lift weights at home and do like HIIT workouts on Zoom, but I wasn't getting any skill training for about two or 3 months. And then there was a thing, the government allowed elite athletes to resume training. So Kieran and I both, with the goals to make the Commonwealth Games, just started training together, just me and him. So the pandemic limited the amount of bodies I would usually be able to train with. Usually I could go into a room and get 10, 20 different bodies. Some were better than me, some I'm better than, some were bigger, some were smaller. Whereas I've just mainly had this one training partner. But luckily, Kieran's around the same weight as me. He was my wrestling coach, so he can pass on a lot of knowledge to me. So I've been quite fortunate to, if I was to get stuck with one training partner, it's been one that's size-wise great, competitive-wise great, knowledge-wise great. So we've done a lot of training, we've got a lot of great training in through this time. It's hard to say if I would have trained better. I've possibly even trained better thanks to the pandemic. It's hard to say.
Okay. When you say better, do you mean sort of more focused? Because there's nothing else to do?
Exactly. I've maybe had more time to train. I've definitely had more time to train with gyms being shut. I wouldn't be working as much, so I've had more time to just do my own training. So the pandemic could have even helped my training. So I've competed in jiu-jitsu and wrestling. I don't have ambitions to compete in anything else, but a lot of people often suggest I compete in MMA, so I think the only other sport I might compete in would be MMA.
Show jumping, anything like
Nothing like that appeals.
Fencing, darts.
So I started training at age 24. I'm 31 now. I was quite late on in starting, but I think in the time I've been training, I've managed to do quite a lot and do quite well. When I was younger, I wasn't so much into sports. I was just more of a recluse and stayed at home, and I was quite overweight, so I kind of went to martial arts training as a kind of fan that watched stuff and just thought, right, if I'm going to do some kind of exercise, I might as well do something I'm interested in. And then it just, 6 months later, someone suggested I compete in jiu-jitsu, and it just snowballed. So I was quite overweight, and I lived with my father. He was quite overweight. He's passed away now. And he got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I think around the same time got told I had high blood pressure, and I got weighed at the doctors, and I was just really heavy. And I think my dad started kind of sorting out his diabetes. Like, he started going to classes, just losing some weight, and that maybe rubbed off on me. Where I thought, well, if he's doing something to take care of himself, what could I do? Like, I don't want to do what he's doing, but I'll find something. So yeah, my dad was probably an influence that way. Oh, well, I would love to have started any kind of grappling or MMA training at a lot younger age. I'm now a coach, and I'll coach people that are from ages 5 to older than me. But there's, like, when I see the young ones and how good they can get at such a young age, I'm just envious. But yeah, I just tell myself to get my finger out and go find something that you enjoy doing in an environment you like being in, and maybe, yeah, just get out of the house. Probably the same thing we've just been talking about. No more Mr. Nice Guy. You know, just go when you're going to go and compete. Just put it on them, 100%. Like, don't hold back.
Will it be worth all the pain to get there?
Yeah. See, even if I wasn't doing this, I would still be training. Now I've just got the focus. I've got, like, the focus, the competition. That's like the sort of party at the end of it. But I'm going to be doing it anyway. I'm going to be training hard anyway. That was cool. This is some pro stuff here.